Hey guys, Friday here, and I am back with another episode of Boy Talk. Today we're going to be talking about the 5 myths that you have probably heard as an artist or starting out artist, and you should probably avoid or take with a grain of salt. So number one of these myths is that you might need expensive supplies, and to be honest, this is kind of true. When you're scaling as an artist, there's some supplies that when you go to an art supply store or something, you get overwhelmed, and most of these art supplies are very expensive. Talk about oil, talk about if you're a digital artist, talk about tablets that you need, talk about the laptops and all the programs that you might need. But starting out as an artist is totally a different case, and one of these things that you need to understand is that it's very important for you to try out different things. And when you're in a position where you can improvise, which is something that we had to learn as artists at some point in time, when you're in a situation where you have to improvise, you end up creating something or getting a creative idea that most times people who have the best supplies cannot have or are not privy to, because of they already have it on ground. So obviously when I started off as an artist, I started with like a HP pencil, which most of us as artists started with, and then you can scale up and try using other pencils, and then you can also scale and try using like a small pack of what do you call it, oil paints or acrylic paints, and then you can scale, or you can start with watercolor and then go to the small pack of acrylic paints or oil paints, and then keep scaling up from there. That's if you're going to become a traditional artist. Or you can even try clay, or you can try, there's so many things that you can try. Even when it came to digital art for me, I remember starting off with this small Vic, I think it's Vic tablets, that's graphic tablets for my laptop. For I think I got that for like 10,000 naira, and that really helped me. And obviously, even till now, I can't really tell much of a difference between the artworks I made then, in terms of the way the brushstrokes were. Obviously, I'm much more experienced in terms of how I paint, but I can't really tell the difference between the artworks I made then in terms of brushstrokes and the artworks I'm making now, except the fact that most of it is a lot easier because I'm drawing directly on the screen. I am not having to bother about the pen quality or the pen pressure or stuff like that. But at the same time, you do not need those expensive supplies to start. One of the things that you can start with is just a pencil and a 2000 naira sketch pad, and you can keep drawing, and you can develop. I think it's more important for you to develop the habit of drawing daily and regularly, and then you can keep scaling up. Get that name for yourself, get the understanding of the fundamentals, and just keep scaling yourself. You don't always have to draw on the best tablet, or you don't always have to draw on the largest canvas or with the best oil paint when you're starting out. Start out with what you have now and then scale up from there. That's very important. Number two is that you need formal training. Now, this is something that people are, I think at this point in this generation, people are starting to understand that we do not need formal training. So this is more of a myth for like the millennials and the older generation. But even in this generation, you can hear many people saying like, "You, I didn't go to school, you went to school, and maybe that's why you're better." And I will tell you this: before I went to university or studied fine arts, I really didn't have any problems drawing. I think I already had a huge idea of what drawing needed. I already was following a lot of artists. I already had like a good understanding of what art was, even without going to school to study. Now that said, this is the important thing about studying. This is what I got from studying fine arts. I think before I entered the department, I obviously had this idea that I had this delusion that I was pretty good at what I was doing, like I was already there. And then when you enter school, and it's not really about what the lecturers are telling you or what the lecturers are doing, but you're stuck in a space where there are so many people with different talents and different concept of what art is, or different ways of expressing themselves, that you just feel like, it's not just me here. I actually have a lot to learn from art. And so you learn like different specialization, like sculpture, painting, whatever. And this is pretty much what you need to scale yourself. So most of what I learned from art in studying fine art was pretty much from my friends or colleagues, or going out to places and learning different things and trying out new things, because I could see that there were so many people who were more experienced than me in that field. So that's the main thing about studying fine art. Now, if you don't have that formal education, it's easier for you to just put yourself in those situations, whether it is virtually or whether it is physically. Now you can go for artist workshops, you can go to different spaces, you can go out to draw, you can talk to people who you know are artists as well. You can also just be on Twitter and start conversing with different artists, and you already have that space. You don't really need to spend 4 to 6 years or whatever in school trying to understand something that at the end of the day many people can just learn on YouTube these days. So nowadays I don't think you really need a formal education, but if you don't have that prior concept of what art requires, or you don't have the prior concept of how to why you need the fundamentals or why you need to be better at art, you might need to have a formal education too. So this is one of those myths that it is not a total myth, but you just need to take it with a grain of salt. Number 4 is that you need to stick to one style. Now this is something that many artists get stuck in, and I think I've seen it with older artists than younger artists, because most times, because of the way social media works and how much artwork we have to pump out in the space of, let's say, a month or a week. Some artists are posting every day, some artists are doing something almost every week. So the amount of artwork that we need to pump out makes it easier for us to diversify in our style or diversify or try out new things. But I think most times, because of the way we study art and because of the understanding of art history, and we know that okay, Picasso had a style, and Da Vinci had a style, and Basquiat had a style, and this person had a style, and we feel like because we become artists, you have to start off with a particular style. Now it's very important for you to have something that people can identify with your artwork. So whether it's your colors, the particular colors that you use, whether it's the thought process, whether it's who your artwork is targeted towards, whether it is for aesthetic, whether it is for the concept, whether it is for the theatrics of how you make the artwork. There are different things that should make people identify an artwork with you. But that said, it doesn't mean that you should be stuck on one style. It doesn't mean that because people know you as the artist who draws on, who uses lines like this, or who scribbles, that you should keep scribbling for the next 10 years until people actually forget about you. No, you should actually try doing different things. But at the same time, it's like you find out that you need to grow into your niche. You need to grow into something where you can say, okay, I'm settled. You don't need to just draw one day, and because people say, yo, I like this style of drawing, that's what you're going to do all through. You need to try out different things. You need to open up your mind and keep trying out things. Just learn from different places, and you might end up finding out something that nobody has ever expressed themselves in. Maybe you can pick from different places and just cook up a new recipe that nobody has ever tried out. So keep trying out different art styles, and it will be better for you to experiment. Now, number 4, art is not about being talented. Obviously, many people feel like art is about this talent thing, and yeah, it is. But at the same time, it is not about just the talent. Most of the things I learned, I had to learn the hard way. Like every time I was drawing in classes, I was doing different things, and with every drawing that I did, it was like practice for me. Even though I thought it was fun at the time, and I thought it was just for the feedback of hearing people say, yo, this is good or this is bad or whatever. But every time I drew, there was a practice going on. And that is one thing that most people do not understand. When it comes to, even I have this problem, when I look at people that play football and they do like some mad skill, and you're like, yo, this person was born with this talent. Like, how is this person able to? Nah, he learned that. He took his time to understand that. Same way when you see somebody who is intelligent in school, you feel like, yo, this person is born intelligent. Nah, he's probably reading in class. His parents are probably like stressing him out about reading every day. He's probably not reading your art school books, or he's probably playing with you in class. But at the same time, when he goes back home, he's in an environment where he needs to have an understanding of this school stuff and everything. So that's the same way art is. As much as it is a talent that most people need to hone, especially when you're starting from a long time ago, or maybe when you're a kid, you have like long years for you to learn this. And so when you come out to your area, most people will just see the foreground, will just see what you're doing in front of the curtain, and then the spotlight. But you will not understand what you always have to go through in the background. The amount of time you had to throw away sketch pads, or the amount of time you had to erase
or the amount of times you had to throw away things just because you didn't make something that was literally enough for others to see. So most times, art is not always about talent. Art is about the practice or putting in those 10,000 hours to the point where when you come out, people actually see your work and feel like, yo, was this person born with this talent? Is this something spiritual? Is this something like coming from God or divine or something? That's what people will see, but they will not understand the much of work that you have put in to the progress that you have now. Then number 5 is the fact that most artists believe that artists are supposed to be introverted and this recluse being in a room just working on their stuff and not coming out. But when they come out it's a wrong patrols or they're going to sing in front every day. And honestly, I saw this a couple times with couple artists. But at the same time, I feel like this is something that makes it up here and say artists do not have to have this personality of not being in the room. This is something that we have to tackle. Artists should not believe that because they are artists, they have this path for them to be antisocial or not to be people who can network or people who can speak or any of those things. And personally, taking on a front way, I understand how hard it is for somebody who gets his ideas from keeping quiet or being in spaces where nobody is to step out of their own comfort zone and talk to people or be friendly or all of these things. I understand that, but as much as possible, I want to point out that this is something that we do not have to consider as a norm. Artists do not have to be psychopaths sleeping in a room or sociopaths staying in a room and not talking to anybody. Artists can be out there and speak to people and then bring in whatever experiences they have from the outside back to their world and express that in the way they see fit. So that's something that I feel is very important. Aside from the fact that they can get experiences from outside, also you can network and be able to sell the world. Artists these days, most of them are social media managers, business men, they're always business savvy and all of those things. So yeah, these are the 5 myths that most artists believe and maybe starting your growth about it. So if you believe this, you might just want to stop believing them and take all of this with, like I said, the real itself. And maybe you might just end up buying as an artist, creating something that is different by spending yourself, spending your name as an artist. So that's it. I relate for idea. Thank you very much for listening. If you like this video, please leave a like and subscribe to this channel. Share this channel to any of the other artists who might gain something from what I just said. Thank you very much for listening again. I relate for idea. Peace.